His lips hovered near mine, so close that every shaky breath I took tangled with his. My pulse hammered in my ears, and for a moment, the whole world seemed to hush, waiting for the inevitable. His hands slid over mine, fingers intertwining, pulling me closer to the warmth of a flame I knew could burn me alive. And just as I parted my lips, ready to give in, I have to pause and say, if you're new here, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story. Trust me, what I'm about to confess will twist your heart and your desires in ways you didn't see coming. Because this isn't just about a kiss. It's about how I betrayed everything I thought I believed in. It started in the most ordinary place, an office that smelled like printer ink and burnt coffee. I never expected him to crash into my carefully built life like a storm. But isn't that how betrayal always begins? With something that feels harmless, almost laughable at first. Until it grows into a hunger you can't contain. He was my colleague, older, with a confidence that made him impossible to ignore. His voice, deep and smooth, had this way of curling around me like a silk ribbon. And every time he leaned over my desk, brushing too close, whispering explanations about numbers on a screen I no longer saw, my body betrayed me. I had a husband at home. A man who loved me, trusted me, believed in me. Yet, sitting there, I wasn't thinking about loyalty. I was thinking about the way this other man's gaze lingered too long, like he was stripping me down without a single touch. One rainy evening, the office had emptied, leaving only the two of us. I should have walked away. Instead, I stayed. He leaned against my desk, his tie loosened, his shirt clinging slightly to his chest from the humidity. His eyes found mine, dark, knowing. "You work too hard," he murmured. "And you stare too much," I whispered back, surprising myself. That was the moment the line blurred. The forbidden became tempting, and temptation became inevitable. He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from my face. My body reacted faster than my mind, leaning into his touch, aching for more. My breath hitched, my heart screamed, but my lips stayed silent. I knew I was crossing into dangerous waters. But danger had never felt so sweet. Somewhere deep down, should have said no. Instead, I let his touch linger. That was the beginning of the unraveling, the deceit that wrapped itself around me, thread by thread. But don't go anywhere yet. Because if you think this kiss was reckless, you haven't seen what happens when desire becomes addiction. Stay with me, and don't forget, subscribe, like, and share this story, because it only gets more intoxicating from here. The morning after was always the hardest. Not because of guilt, at least not yet, but because of the lingering sensation his hands left on me. I could still feel the warmth where his fingers had traced across my skin, as if he had branded me with invisible fire. My husband kissed me goodbye at the door, his lips light, routine, almost mechanical. He had no idea that another man's scent was still tangled in my hair. I stood in the kitchen with my coffee, staring out the window, pretending to be the picture-perfect wife. But inside, I was restless, trembling, waiting for the next stolen moment. That's the problem with forbidden touches, they don't fade. They multiply. They grow like vines, choking out reason until all you crave is the next taste. By noon, I found myself scrolling through my phone, waiting for his message. And when it came, lunch? Same place? My heart skipped. It was dangerous, but that's what made it irresistible. At the cafe, he didn't waste time. His knee brushed mine under the table. His hand covered mine, bold, claiming. The way he looked at me wasn't how my husband looked anymore. He looked as if I was the only thing keeping him alive, as if without me he'd drown. And I let myself drown with him. We left earlier than planned. The hotel across town was quiet, discreet, our secret haven. Inside that dimly lit room, his touch wasn't patient or polite, it was hungry. He pressed me against the wall before I could even catch my breath, his lips crashing into mine with a force that made me forget who I was supposed to be. And as his hands roamed, I couldn't help but think, am I a prisoner of this touch, or am I the one binding myself with lies? Kiss mark if you're still with me, don't forget to like this video, share, and of course, subscribe for more of these forbidden confessions. It keeps me brave enough to keep telling you everything I can't tell anyone else. His hand lingered against my waist longer than it should have, a silent message that screamed louder than any word could. And God help me, I leaned into it. I let his touch seep into me, as though it were the antidote to the coldness of my marriage. If you're just joining me now, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and share this video with someone who loves raw, real, forbidden tales. Because what I'm about to reveal, it's deeper, dirtier, and far more complicated than what you've heard so far. I told myself it was harmless. That little coffee dates didn't mean anything. That a stolen kiss in the parking lot of his truck was just a slip. But the truth? It was a lie I told myself to sleep at night. Because every touch, every look, every heated whisper, bound me tighter to him. He started calling me his escape. And I started believing that I was more than a wife in a loveless marriage. The nights became unbearable. I'd slip under the covers next to my husband, body aching for another man. My phone would light up on the nightstand with his messages, words laced with hunger, promises dipped in sin. Tomorrow, he would write. And my heart would race. Tomorrow meant another chance to feel alive. One evening, I told my husband I was running late at work. But truthfully, I was already in his arms. We were in his apartment, my blouse half undone, his lips pressing fire into my skin. The way he touched me wasn't gentle. It wasn't careful. It was demanding, claiming, like he knew every hidden part of me that I never dared to show. And I let him. I let him because I craved it more than air. But here's the catch, lies don't just sit still. They grow. They multiply. The more I gave myself to him, the more I had to cover my tracks. Fake receipts, staged photos, alibis rehearsed in front of the mirror. I wasn't just living a double life anymore. I was spinning a web so tangled that even I started getting lost inside it. In the middle of the story, let me pause to remind you, if this confession grips you the way his touch gripped me, then please subscribe, like, and share. It keeps me going, and I promise, the next chapters are even more intoxicating. The guilt didn't disappear. No. It sat quietly, like a shadow in the corner, reminding me I was breaking vows I once meant. But the desire, the passion, it was louder. It silenced everything else. Every time his lips claimed mine, I thought, this is wrong. And every time his hands explored me, I thought, this is the only thing that feels right. By the time the clock hit midnight that night, I wasn't just a woman hiding an affair. I was a woman addicted to a touch that was rewriting the rules of my life. And the scariest part? I didn't want to stop. His touch still lingers on my skin, even in the silence of my nights. Sometimes it feels like fire, other times like frost. That's the paradox of what he gave me, pleasure wrapped in betrayal, intimacy soaked in lies. I had convinced myself I could keep it hidden. That what burned between us would never spill into the light. That I could remain the good wife, the dependable woman, while secretly chasing the taste of his hands, his lips, his body that once pressed so urgently into mine. But passion has a way of leaving scars, even when no one else can see them. I remember that last night with him. The way his touch wasn't just physical anymore, it had started to carve into my soul. Every kiss felt like it demanded a truth I wasn't ready to give. Every moan felt like a confession, one that I'd never dared to speak aloud. And yet, I surrendered. Over and over again, I surrendered. Now, I look back, and I wonder, was it worth it? The aching? The guilt? The scar that even time hasn't healed? But maybe this is the real story of infidelity, not just stolen moments, but the ghosts they leave behind. If you've been with me on this journey, if my secret whispers have stirred something inside you, don't forget, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with someone who understands how dangerous and intoxicating desire can be. Because I've learned one truth that I can't escape. His touch was my heaven. But the scar it left is my hell. I should have stopped long ago. I should have shut the door the first night he touched me and made my whole body forget its boundaries. But the truth? I didn't want to stop. Even now, as I confess this, hidden behind anonymity, I can feel his fingerprints still engraved in places only he dared to claim. That night, the final one we shared, wasn't planned. It was reckless. It was fire waiting for gasoline. He came over when my husband was out of town for a work retreat. I knew it was dangerous, I knew I was gambling with everything, but the thought of being alone in the silence of that house without his touch drove me mad. When he stepped inside, the air changed. My pulse betrayed me before I even said hello. His lips found mine, hungry, almost punishing, and in that moment I realized something. I wasn't just cheating. I was surrendering. My deceit had become my prison, but his touch was my only escape. His hands pressed me against the kitchen counter, where the cold granite met the heat of my back. The way he whispered my name wasn't love, it was lust turned holy, obsession turned worship. And I let him take, let him consume, because being wanted that deeply made me feel alive in a way my vows never did. But lust has teeth. Passion leaves scars. After, as we lay tangled on the living room floor, reality returned like a storm. My body was still humming, yet my mind was already drowning. He looked at me, sweat dripping down his temple, and whispered, "One day, this will burn us alive." He was right. And that's why I'm here, telling you my story, instead of living it. My husband never found out, but the guilt chews at me even when I smile across the dinner table. My lover is gone now, moved to another state, but the ghost of him? He never leaves. If you've listened this far, maybe you understand. Maybe you felt it too. Being wrapped in someone's touch, bound by a deceit you can never fully escape. Before I end, let me whisper this. If you're watching, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who knows the weight of secrets, and subscribe for more confessions like mine. Because sometimes, the stories we hide in the dark are the ones that shine brightest when spoken aloud. And me? I'll stay in the shadows, my voice anonymous, my heart still tangled between loyalty and desire. Because even if I'm free, his touch will always remain my undoing. His touch still lingers on my skin, even in the silence of my nights. Sometimes it feels like fire, other times like frost. That's the paradox of what he gave me, pleasure wrapped in betrayal, intimacy soaked in lies. I had convinced myself I could keep it hidden. That what burned between us would never spill into the light. That I could remain the good wife, the dependable woman, while secretly chasing the taste of his hands, his lips, his body that once pressed so urgently into mine. But passion has a way of leaving scars, even when no one else can see them. I remember that last night with him. The way his touch wasn't just physical anymore, it had started to carve into my soul. Every kiss felt like it demanded a truth I wasn't ready to give. Every moan felt like a confession, one that I'd never dared to speak aloud. And yet, I surrendered. Over and over again, I surrendered. Now, I look back, and I wonder, was it worth it? The aching? The guilt? The scar that even time hasn't healed? But maybe this is the real story of infidelity, not just stolen moments, but the ghosts they leave behind. If you've been with me on this journey, if my secret whispers have stirred something inside you, don't forget, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with someone who understands how dangerous and intoxicating desire can be. Because I've learned one truth that I can't escape. His touch was my heaven. But the scar it left is my hell.